Hello, friends. Today we're going to talk about grade 7 proportional relationships and percentages. So I think the most important thing about percentages in grade 7 is that we're going to be connecting multiple representations, starting with the tape diagram. The tape diagram helps them understand that percentages represent part of a whole, making a nice connection to work that they've done in previous grades. So for example, if I have my original amount being X, I could add 25%. I would need to add on another fourth of my original amount. Or if I could take off 25%, I'm taking off 1/4 of that original amount. We can also show that on a double number line, which students find super helpful. And we're wanting them to get to the shortcut where the let me move myself over here, that the increase by 25%, or sorry, a decrease by 25%, I can just multiply it by 0.75, or an increase by 25%, I can multiply it by 1.25. Using the distributive property, we can prove these relationships, but that's a lot more efficient than finding out what the percentage is and adding it on top, or finding out what the percentage is and then subtracting it. Like a two-step process, we can do that in one step. Common misconceptions you want to look out for is that students have a tendency to add percent, like if we want to find percent increase and we say, oh, like, 20% more, they'll just add literally 20 on top of their original amount. Or another common mistake is the reversibility error, where it's like, okay, I have my original amount, I'm going to increase it by 25%, and then that amount, if I decrease it by 25%, they think they're going to come back to the same spot. And it doesn't work that way because those are 25% of two totally different numbers. And also in word problems, sometimes they have a hard time figuring out what's the original amount. I would say for adding versus multiplying and reversibility errors, I would recommend using really large numbers as like a test case, or really small numbers as a test case, because sometimes those in-between numbers, it seems too close to being reasonable for them to make sense of it. But like if you use really small numbers or really big numbers, sometimes they'll make the connection that they've made a mistake. And at the end of the day, we want kids to see this relationship as just a very simple equation where versus some of you may have learned like is over of is equal to percent over 100. That relationship is a little bit too simple for some cases and also requires more steps. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we want them to know that percentages can be, a percent can be represented as a decimal, right? Percent means divided by 100, so we're just talking about hundredths. So 15% is the same thing as 15 hundredths. That's a nice connection. And if I know that my new amount is some percent of my original, and that could be a percent increase or decrease, right? I can think about is being an equal sign, and of means multiplication in the same way I would say like, oh, I want half of my brownies. So it'd be 1/2 times however many brownies I have. So if I can put my variable anywhere. So I just gave the example of like 13 is 15% of what number? I can set that up as 13 equals 15% times X, and then I've just got a simple one-step equation that I can divide both sides by 15 hundredths, and that's going to get me my original number, right? So this equation is the goal. If there's any other content that you would like us to go over, by all means, let us know.